In the heart of a functioning democracy lies a fundamental principle: transparency. How money flows through the veins of our political system, fueling campaigns and influencing decisions, directly impacts the very essence of our representative government. Yet a shroud of secrecy often obscures this crucial aspect, leaving citizens in the dark about who truly holds sway over their elected officials. The undue influence of money in politics has long been a topic of debate, but the rise of opaque political spending has brought this issue to the forefront. The ability of wealthy individuals, corporations, and special interest groups to pour unlimited sums into our elections, often anonymously, has eroded public trust and created an uneven playing field. This lack of transparency allows hidden agendas to flourish, potentially shaping policies that benefit a select few at the expense of the many. The very foundation of our democracy rests upon the idea that every citizen has an equal voice. By demanding transparency and holding our elected officials accountable, we can begin to level the playing field and restore faith in our political system. Only then can we ensure that our government truly represents the will of the people, not the whims of the wealthy. The flow of dark money, funds whose original sources are hidden from public view, has become a pervasive force in modern politics. These funds, often funneled through complex networks of non-profit organizations and shell corporations, make it exceedingly difficult to trace the money back to its original donors.
Whistleblowers, those brave individuals who risk their careers and reputations to expose wrongdoing, have played a crucial role in shedding light on the shadowy world of dark money in politics. One such whistleblower, a former employee of a prominent dark money group, described the organization's operations as a giant washing machine for dirty money. He detailed how large sums of money would be funneled through a complex web of shell corporations and nonprofit organizations, effectively obscuring the original source of the funds and making it nearly impossible to track where the money ultimately ended up. This lack of transparency poses a significant threat to the integrity of our elections and undermines the public's trust in our democracy.
Campaign finance laws designed to regulate the flow of money in politics and prevent corruption have become riddled with loopholes and ambiguities.
One of the most glaring loopholes is the rise of super political action committees, super PACs, which can raise and spend unlimited amounts of money to support or oppose candidates for office. Unlike traditional PACs, which are subject to strict contribution limits and disclosure requirements, super PACs can accept unlimited contributions from individuals, corporations, and labor unions, and they are not required to disclose their donors. This lack of transparency has made super PACs a vehicle for wealthy donors and special interest groups to exert significant influence over elections without being held accountable for their spending. The ethical implications of these loopholes are profound. Addressing these issues is essential to restoring public trust in our democracy and ensuring that our elected officials are accountable to the people they represent, not just the special interests that fund their campaigns.
The issue of money in politics has ignited a firestorm of debate and concern among the American public. Social media platforms have become virtual town halls, buzzing with conversations, debates, and calls for action. Hashtags like #darkmoney, #campaign finance reform, and #follow the money trend regularly, reflecting a growing public awareness of the issue and a desire for greater transparency in our political system.
A recent poll conducted by found that a staggering of Americans believe that money has too much influence in politics. This sentiment transcends partisan lines, uniting Americans across the political spectrum in their concern over the corrupting influence of money in our democracy. The message is clear. Americans are fed up with a system that allows wealthy donors and special interests to buy influence and undermine our democracy.
The impact of opaque political spending is not an abstract concept. It has real-world consequences that are felt in communities across the country. In a small town inn, residents witnessed firsthand the impact of dark money on their local elections. The ads, later revealed to be funded by a shadowy pro-development group, effectively swayed public opinion and led to the mayor's defeat. The new administration, beholden to their anonymous benefactors, quickly overturned key environmental regulations, paving the way for a controversial development project that threatened the town's delicate ecosystem. In another instance, Residents of a low-income community watched in dismay as a bill that would have provided much-needed funding for affordable housing was mysteriously stalled in the state legislature. These stories, while disheartening, also serve as a powerful call to action. Visualizing the flow of money in politics is crucial to understanding its impact on policy decisions. Complex diagrams and data visualizations can illustrate the intricate web of connections between donors, lobbyists, political campaigns, and ultimately, the policies that emerge from legislative bodies. One such visualization might depict a network diagram with nodes representing key players in the political arena, such as wealthy donors, corporations, super PACs, political campaigns, and elected officials. The edges connecting these nodes would represent the flow of money, with thicker lines indicating larger sums. This type of visualization could reveal patterns of influence, highlighting which donors and special interest groups wield the most power and how their contributions translate into political capital. By juxtaposing these two datasets, researchers and citizens can gain a clearer understanding of how money influences the legislative process. By making these connections more transparent and accessible to the public, we can empower citizens to hold their elected officials accountable and demand a more ethical and responsive government. In the age of social media and instant information, it's more important than ever to carefully scrutinize claims about political spending and separate fact from fiction. Misinformation and disinformation can spread like wildfire online, often obscuring the truth and hindering efforts to promote transparency and accountability in campaign finance. Fact-checking organizations play a vital role in debunking false claims, verifying information, and providing the public with accurate and reliable information. One common tactic used to mislead the public is the selective use of data. For example, a group opposed to campaign finance reform might cherry-pick statistics to make it seem like dark money spending is a minor issue, while ignoring or downplaying the substantial body of evidence demonstrating its corrosive influence on our democracy. Another tactic involves using misleading language and framing to manipulate public perception. By carefully analyzing the language used to discuss campaign finance issues, we can identify and challenge these attempts to manipulate public opinion. In an era of information overload, fact-checking is an essential tool for promoting transparency and accountability in our political system. Despite the challenges, significant progress has been made in the fight for campaign finance transparency. Grassroots organizations, advocacy groups, and concerned citizens have been working tirelessly to shine a light on the influence of money in politics and advocate for reforms that would empower voters and hold elected officials accountable.
One significant victory came in the form of local ordinances passed in cities and states across the country that require greater disclosure of political spending. These ordinances, often passed in response to grassroots pressure, typically mandate that organizations spending money to influence elections disclose their donors, even if they are classified as nonprofit organizations. Another positive development has been the increasing availability of data and tools that allow researchers, journalists, and the public to track political spending more effectively. The fight for campaign finance transparency is far from over, but these victories demonstrate that progress is possible. By continuing to shine a light on the issue, demanding greater disclosure, and supporting organizations working for reform, we can create a more ethical and accountable political system that truly represents the interests of the people.
The influence of money in politics is a complex and multifaceted issue, but one thing is clear: the status quo is unsustainable. Opaque political spending, fueled by dark money and enabled by loopholes in campaign finance laws, poses a grave threat to the integrity of our democracy. It undermines public trust, distorts policy outcomes, and drowns out the voices of ordinary citizens. To reclaim our democracy and ensure that it truly serves the interests of the people, we must demand comprehensive campaign finance reform. This reform must address the issue of dark money by requiring all organizations spending money to influence elections to disclose their donors, regardless of their tax status. It must close loopholes that allow wealthy individuals and special interest groups to circumvent contribution limits and exert undue influence.
Achieving meaningful campaign finance reform will require a sustained and multifaceted effort. It will require citizens to educate themselves about the issue, engage in informed discussions, and demand action from their elected officials. By working together, we can create a more just, equitable, and democratic society where every voice is heard and every vote counts.